I'm Justin Davis, and this is Joe Camp's RC. Alright guys, welcome back from that flight test. I had a lot of fun flying the new Diatone. This is the V2 of the GT M3. Diatone originally sent me the original prototype of this one months ago, and I was trying to test it, but it had so much video noise and problems that I ended up scrapping it and waiting till they sent me another one, because they told me they had a version 2 coming out, and lo and behold, here's the version 2. I've been testing this one for about a month as well, and I took it around with me. We took some road trips, and we really got to know this quad and flew it for you guys before I just put it on the bench like this. Now you're looking at it after I've flown it, and it did take some bumps and hits, but it performed really, really well. So if you're looking for an awesome 3-inch racer that has tons of speed and plenty of room for a nice sized battery on it, you can get 3 to 4 minutes out of this with a 1000 milliamp. It will actually fly a 4S 1000, so you can put a little heavier battery on it and it will still give you that top end performance that you're looking for with a little more flight time. Now, one great thing about this GT M3 series versus the 2-inch GT series that came out earlier this year is the fact that that they used aluminum sidewalls on this one. The other GT series with the 2-inch props, everyone raved about that one, but that one had carbon sidewalls, and on my first couple flights I broke the front, right in the front underneath the camera. This carbon sidewall broke. So on this one I did not break any of the structure of the quad, which is kind of amazing because I was flying around a lot of really solid objects. There was rocks on cliff sides, there was huge trees, and this one came back in one piece. It did take some hits, but did not break on me, which is also kind of amazing. Now, another thing you'll notice about this frame right away is it has solid camera protection all the way around it in a 360, all the way to the front. The camera doesn't stick out the front. There's protection from the top and the bottom. And the bottom is one of the most important parts. Also, you don't want to have your camera sticking out past the frame. A lot of times companies will build a lot of frames where the camera is just riding out front, and that's really bad for racing. If you hit a pole or a gate directly, you're going to destroy whatever micro cam you have in there. But this one is totally protected. The original GT series, the little 2-inch Diatone that I loved flying it. It flew really great, but it had the bottom of the PCB of the camera sticking out. This board right here was completely sticking out on the 2-inch version of the GT series. And with this one, I gave them some notes about that original one, and I asked for the next version, please, 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 encase the camera and hide this PCB. We don't want any parts of our camera sticking out, because I did break a camera on that original 2-inch version GT series quad. So I want to say thanks to Diatone for taking that in consideration for you guys and protecting this camera completely from all directions. They did a really nice job about keeping your camera protected on this model. And if you guys want to go back and reference the quad that I'm talking about, it's called the GT-R90. That was the one that I reviewed earlier this year, but this is the GT-M3 series, and this is the V2, so not to be confused with the original GT-M3. They've made some really good changes on this one, and I thought they were going to add some type of current voltage sensor on the end of this right here, but I did get just a standard XT30 on mine. Now you're looking at the quad from the side, and mine came with 3.2 on there already flashed in, and I don't know if someone flashed that on before they sent it to me, but that was really nice because the flight controller was already set up. I just went in and set up my switches, and I was pretty much ready to fly. Now, as far as flight controllers go, it does have the Fury F4 flight controller on there, and it seems to be doing a pretty good job. It does have a 32K 6-axis gyro on board that is extremely, extremely fast for all those calculations and the big maneuvers that you're trying to do with this quad. And it does handle it. I did see a little bit of wobble on the inverted yaw spin, or if I was coming around in a loop and I came inverted, I did see it kind of wander while it's inverted a little bit, but that might be in case the accelerometer is overreacting in that situation. Now, just below the Fury F4, we have the 4-in-1 ESC stack, so that keeps your ESCs off the arms, which is really great. That's what we want. It is a 20 amp ESC configuration running D-Shot 600, and mine didn't come with a buzzer, so I went into BL Heli and I set up my ESCs to beep if it became disconnected from the transmitter, or if I left it for more than 2 minutes on the ground. I wanted it to beep, because out in those mountain ranges, you're definitely not going to find this quad unless you have some type of beeper on it. A 3-inch quad is actually super small and hard to find. But aside from having 20 amp ESCs, it does burst up to 40 amps, so you're absolutely safe running this quad on 4S. These 3-inch quads really are set up, most of them are set up to run 4S. If you're a new guy, I would suggest starting out with a 3S 850 or 1000 milliamp. If you go above 1000 milliamp on this quad, you're really going to start to feel some weight. Don't try to run a 1300 on it. It's just going to feel a little bit heavy and bulky when you go to fly it. It also came with some motors that can absolutely handle 4S all day long, and the punishment that I was giving it, they have the Edge 1408s on here, and these are 4000 kV motors. You can see that Edge logo right there, and it does say 1408 on there, 4000 kV just below the Edge logo. Now they're all blue with a silver top on them. They all look exactly the same, but they don't have any type of motor bumper except for on the front of this frame. So I'd maybe like to see one come out in the front right here, just to protect it in some type of forward crash, and maybe on the back side that would be nice as well. But performance wise, these motors went through the roof. They're going to get you over 100 miles an hour on a 4S like 75C. If you're looking for the ultimate speed, I'd probably use something like a Tattoo 850 milliamp, and I do run the graphene 4S 1000 milliamp batteries also, but they did feel a little heavier, and I think the 850 is sort of the sweet spot on this quad. If you don't run it like I do, you're probably going to get 3 minutes flight time out of an 850 battery. Now your video system on this version 2 version is kind of legendary. It is that G1 sniper on here, and that one has 120 degree field of view, so I felt like I could see a lot side to side. I didn't have any problem with freestyling this one out in the field, running around branches and coming up and down the cliffs. I felt like the dark to light contrast ratio was really good, because a lot of times when you're coming off the side of a cliff, it gets really dark on sunset, and when sun is rising on the cliff, you have some dark and light areas, and coming down into the dark area was just fine. The transition was super quick, and then coming back up into the light seemed fine. It wasn't totally blown out. So I think the camera on here, the sniper, is good. I would trust that. It is a CCD camera, by the way, and also in combination you have that TBS Unify VTX on here. For the new guys, VTX means video transmitter, and I'm able to get a good range even using a dipole that I have mounted here. I took a little bit of extra heat shrink and just made sure that was standing up nice. When I got it, it was kind of tucked back this direction, and I wanted to make sure that I had the most range out of this. So what I would recommend doing for yours is just take a little bit of a heat shrink and a zip tie and stand it up off there, and you'll get a much better camera signal coming back to your goggles. So all the components on here so far are pretty much rockstar 3-inch quality. It's just what everybody's looking for. Everyone has been raving about it. I saw all the other reviews out there. Some of them were good, some of them were okay, but I wanted to take this quad out for you guys and really punish it in kind of a tough environment, and really see if it kind of held up to all the hype that this quad had. And when I got home with it in one piece, I feel like it did. It didn't short out in the air on me or drop out of the air. Some of the places that I flew were really risky, and I could have completely lost this quad out over the cliffs for you guys, and not been able to show it to you here. It flew great, and I trusted it to fly in those locations. And I did test fly it before we went on that trip, so I was ready to rock with this quad. Once I got out there, I really trusted the components on here. Now you can see the V2 here next to the King Kong GT. This is the 200 GT. Just give you some size reference for a 5-inch quad versus a 3-inch quad. And this one does say it's a stretch X, but it's actually stretched this way. For some reason they don't have it turned this way. They have it out to the side. So this would be more of an H configuration quad, whereas this one would be like a standard true X unibody frame design. But the quality of the carbon on here is absolutely awesome. If you're gonna pay $180 for a 3-inch frame, you wanna see some kind of carbon that has been smoothly polished and looks good and feels nice and thick and rigid. It doesn't feel like it flexes at all, which I really like. And it does have a spot where the ESCs have that battery cable coming off the back right here, and make sure you do put a little zip tie around your battery cable so it doesn't tug on your ESC. That's gonna completely pull that off if you don't. Also, we have a soft mount in here, which I love. And when I was securing my receiver to this, when I was moving it around, I could actually sort of move it side to side. I did notice that it had some play in here. So that's really forgiving for a lot of hard turns when you're flying this quad, which makes it fly a lot smoother. Now, one thing I'm not a huge fan of are these type of battery straps. This battery strap seemed a little bit short for the 850, and I was kind of worried that my battery might fly off in flight. So note to Diatone, please include a buckle on there. And if you want to really make your customers happy, put some kind of metal buckle on there. That would just make this battery strap a lot easier. And also consider that people are going to be flying an 850 size battery or 1000 size battery, so they need a lot longer. Maybe an inch longer would have been perfect for this particular quad, but I would just remove this strap and find yourself a longer, better strap with a buckle on there. So inside the GT-M3 version 2 box, you do get a bag of accessories, and you do get some extra posts, some hardware to go with those posts, and they give you an extra XT30 in there. And this one actually is for the battery side of things. So if you have bought a battery that came with an XT60, that's nice that they provided you with the correct battery side plug there. If you can go ahead and solder that onto where your XT60 was. You also get an extra battery strap, which is super cool, even though those are a little bit short, I think, for what we want to run on this quad. You do get a buzzer in there, which is really, really nice. It just plugs in right here on this little battery harness, and it already has that same harness on there on the quad, but this is kind of hanging out back behind the camera. So if you want to just go ahead and plug that in right there, you can do that, and then remove the sticker, and then you'll have a buzzer on your GT M3. So that's pretty nice they include that. Kind of puzzling that they didn't just go ahead and put it on for you guys. You also get some extra zip ties, which is nice. I got a lot of these narrow, long zip ties, and those are super great. You can put those on and trim those down to fit. And they give you a little tiny sticker, which is a rubber mount for the bottom of the quad. I always use a piece of hard Velcro and the soft side on my battery, but I prefer the Velcro over this type of thing, because what happens here is when you hit something really hard, your battery flies off, and then you have no way to see where your quad is or get the beeper to work. So once the quad is powered down, you can't use your beeper to find your quad. So we're going to go ahead and give you an after flight report and my opinion on this quad, how it flew. The components on here are great, and I'm going to go ahead and rate this one at 4.9 stars out of 5 stars on the channel. So that's a very high rating for me. I usually don't like to give a 5-star rating for anything out there because it has to be absolutely perfect and just insanely awesome for that to happen. But this is a near perfect quad from front to back. The version 2 is just insane. Incredible punch out. It flies great on a 4S850. Try to get the higher C rated battery, like something like the 75C battery is the one I'm going to recommend for this quad, or a 1000 milliamp battery if you want a little longer flight time. But I left the stock PIDs on here for you guys. I flew it stock, so everything you saw on that flight test in the very beginning of the video was all stock Betaflight PIDs, and I didn't change up a thing on here. So this 3-inch is a screamer from top to bottom. Very nice on the low end, nice throttle control in and out of the trees, and super boost on the high end. So you can see some of those big air throttle punches that I did out in that big field, and some of the footage racing down the road. You're going to get over 100 miles an hour with this quad with this ESC setup. Running 20 amp ESCs, that's kind of wild that we can get 100 miles an hour out of a 20 amp ESC these days. But hey, 1408 motors, and this power to weight ratio is just rock solid, and it's like a dragster for a 3-inch quad. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys now with some links down below. You can check out some props that I'm going to recommend. There's a special right now for a 3-inch 30-50 props, and those are like $11 for 10 sets. So that's a pretty good deal on those props. Also, I'm going to leave some links for the recommended 850 battery and the 1000 battery for you guys, and I'll leave a link directly to Diatone's website as well, and that's the manufacturer of this quad, diatoneusa.com. So I want to say congratulations to Diatone. You have a winner here on my bench, so that's not very often that we have a total winner in the drone camp shop, but this one is definitely a winner. Pick one up at the link below. I think you will absolutely enjoy it. Like I always say on the channel, please do help others. If you're out in the field and you see somebody that needs help, please do. And also, please subscribe on the channel because we have a lot more coming right here on the Drone Camps channel. I'm Justin Davis. Take care, guys. Have a great week. Bye-bye.